My name is Jack McLean. I am your host, and tonight my guest is Valeri Stoimenov, a strength and conditioning coach with over 30 years experience, currently working at the Bendigo Southeast College. Before working at Bendigo, Valeri was a head strength and conditioning coach at Melbourne Football Club, Hawthorn and Essendon football clubs, as well as being part of China's physical preparation team for the 2012 London Olympics and 2014 China's women national team. So we have plenty of elite sport to talk about. So for all the strength and conditioning coaches tuning in, make sure to stick through all the way through the next hour as we dive into Valeri's start of his career all the way through to everything that he's done up until this point. Prior to commencing his professional career in elite sport, Valeri was a professional athlete himself in handball, and he was a player in the Bulgarian side. Before we start our Prepare Like a Pro mission here at the podcast is to inspire athletes and staff with practical knowledge from some of the industry's most inspiring individuals and to strengthen the AFL community. If you like the show, please show support by following us on Instagram and subscribing to the podcast. We're on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. Welcome, Valeri. Thanks for jumping on, mate.
Thanks for having me, Jack.
I'm excited. I'm excited to have you on. And you've been highly recommended. It took a little bit of persistence to convince you to come on, mate, but I'm really looking forward to having you and sharing a good chat over the next hour.
Thanks, mate. You're welcome.
Take us to the beginning of your career. At what age, Valeri, did you discover you had a passion for strength and conditioning and working with elite athletes?
Actually, I've been thinking, I've seen some of your podcasts, and I've been thinking, and I find my story a little bit different compared to some of the other coaches you have interviewed.
Yeah.
I got introduced to strength and conditioning. Back then it was called general physical preparation at the age of 12 when I started playing handball. And I think it was gradual evolution during my handball career and uni. When I was at uni, I learned general physical preparation in depth, and I love it. And then I had opportunity to work with some incredible coaches, world-class coaches, track and field, weightlifting, and general physical preparation coaches. And then I started to think more and more about strength and conditioning. But back then wasn't, I'm talking here mid-80s, wasn't a highly paid job. And but I was thinking, this should be cool. And then actually I started to think more and more and more, and slowly, strength and conditioning became a real job, and we start to get paid, and
that helps.
And so this helped. Yeah, of course, this helped. But yeah, I reckon it was just gradual
build. Yeah. From athlete to
from athletes
and looking back now, why do you reckon you decided to go down the physical preparation side opposed to the technical side of coaching?
Now, it's a great question. Actually, my first job was development handball coach. When I say development, I mean under 14. This was my first coaching job back in Europe, and I was still playing professional handball. But after I graduated from the National Sports Academy, which is the state sport university in Bulgaria, I wanted to do some coaching, combine both professional handball career and coaching, and I got job selection and development under 14. And now, I'll try to explain. The system in Bulgaria is completely different to here. To our in Australia, every coach is actually studies general physical preparation.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, it doesn't matter what sport you do. When you graduate from uni, you study general physical preparation, and you know how to run training sessions and plan, and obviously under 14 was our system was different compared to Australia. In Australia, you know how the kids start, and they start pretty much straight away competing. They start to compete pretty much straight away. They do some skills. In Bulgaria was, you know, select the kids at the age of 12, and then we will run one good 6-12 months solid strength and conditioning before we start to develop skills.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So it's good. I mean, it doesn't surprise me because obviously the weightlifting culture from, you know, a lot of the exercises are named after Eastern European countries. So you can imagine that there's a strong culture in strength and conditioning. But there you go. So from a young age, there's a high value in athletic development. So it was something. Even, I mean, I imagine around the world, strength and conditioning coaches, like you mentioned, there weren't many that were regularly full-time professional salaries, but the culture sounded like there was a lot of people equipped in strength and conditioning, whether it be a tactical coach or and you were exposed to that at a young age. Was there a particular coach that comes to mind that you saw in action and you thought, geez, that looked like a pretty cool role, that's something I want to aspire to be?
Again, I have to go back to uni. When I was at uni, I had the opportunity to train with some track and field, some weightlifting coaches, elite coaches, and some strength and conditioning coaches. And I joined one of our lecturers. He was had very good career at decathlon and was good coach, young coach, but very good. And he had very good group. Yeah, elite athletes. One of the girls in the group was her PB high jump was 2 meters. So back in the early 80s, this was serious, really serious results. So they were elite athletes. And I asked him to join, and he said, no problem, come and train with us. And actually, he's the coach probably who inspired me, because I did a lot of weights with him, with his group, and a lot of plyometrics, and actually I learned, I would say, in-depth the shock method from him. I did some really serious training.
Yeah.
This was 1983, this period, somewhere.
And when you mentioned you were learning off this coach, was your mindset to be the best athlete you could be at this time, or was it because you wanted to be, you were transitioning into the coach phase of your life? Like, were you seeing yourself as a coach at that point of view, or were you more focused about your athletic?
No, athlete. Athlete. Yeah, no, I was still playing. I was still young. I was only in my third year in my professional career, and I still focused fully on my athletic career, handball career. But at the same time, obviously being at uni, I was thinking in future, for the future. And I was just fortunate. Sometimes things happen just
they're meant to be.
For no reason, actually. Well, at least we can't find the reason, but maybe there was reason. But I absolutely love it, and I learn a lot from this coach, and then during my uni, I had the opportunity to work with some weightlifting coaches, really world-class coaches, and I learned a lot about weightlifting from them, technique, and they were really smart, actually. they understood very well the difference between just the weightlifting technique, the technique they used for weightlifting competitions, and when they work with athletes from other sports, they modified their lifts. And actually, I had the opportunity to learn modified lifting, weightlifting, clean and jerks, snatches, I would say more suitable and with higher correlation to, strength and conditioning to athletes outside weightlifting.
Yeah. And what did that look like for the strength and conditioning coaches listening in? What would be some drills that you would do? So is that like, rather than doing a clean from the floor, you do like a hang clean, or is it not doing full squat depth? Is it doing power cleans? Like, what were the different drills that weightlifters were giving you that were more athlete specific, let's call it, opposed to Olympic weightlifting?
Okay, yeah, okay. Now we did from the floor, we did from hang position, cleans and snatches. But for instance, just the range of motion. For instance, weightlifters, they'll pull heavy weights and only up to the middle of the chest, and then they'll drop under. With us, when you work with athletes, outside weightlifting, you go through full range, extend the body. It's very similar to counter movement jump. So you don't cut the movement, you go through full range, and then when you catch the bar, you don't squat, or sometimes we did, but most of the time we were sort of half, just a quarter squat. And squats, with squats we did full squat, and we did partial squats. We did lots of wave squats, rhythmic squats or wave squats. Do you know?
I haven't heard of wave squats. A wave loading, I've heard of that, like 5-3-1.
Wave squats or rhythmic squats. So you squat about quarter, and then you come up and down, up and down, up and down, and right to your heels.
It kills the quads.
It kills the quads, but it's great for it's more
hypertrophy, endurance,
but explosive strength.
Okay, so you're trying to move through those ranges as fast as possible.
As fast as you accelerate. We did contrast training where we combine heavy, slow with light and explosive. It's different. And another one, for instance, weightlifters, because they lift heavy, they slide their feet laterally. With us, we didn't. We stay on one spot and just again.
Interesting.
It's how to say, has higher correlation. Lifting this way has higher correlation to, say, counter movement jump, vertical jump. And landing as well. I'm not saying sliding the feet is wrong, but we did sort of different variation, different techniques. I like that. That makes sense. So that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that insight. Just for for us that clearly you were exposed to some pretty advanced methodologies at a young age. So that environment would have been massively influential, I imagine, on shaping your philosophy with your strength and conditioning. Where did you go from there, from being a handball player? What was your first coaching role as a strength and conditioning coach? As I mentioned before, my first job was under 14 selection and development. Under 14, actually, we didn't have competitions under 14. So we select the kids, we train them for 2 years. Then the first competitions are under 16. And the sport was structured in 3 age groups, similar to here, under 14, under 16, and under 19. So my first job was under 14. I worked for 1 year, and then I had to move to another city for family reasons. And I want to continue to play and coach again, and approached the club, and they said, look, we don't have coaching job available. We have actually only one, the females team, the women's handball team, and they were elite team. in the Premier League, and then I had to make decision. But at this time I was 28, 29, and it was hard decision because I want to play, but I want to coach. But the offer was really too good to say no, and I said yes, and I started coaching women's team, elite women's team, professional. They were full-time professional athletes, and I was only 28, 29. I was the youngest coach in the Premier League, Bulgarian handball Premier League, and it's what happened. I worked there for 1 year, and then I changed my mind and left Europe and moved to Australia. Left Europe in 1989 and moved to Australia.
And what was the motivation to go to Australia? Why down under?
Great question. I'm still trying to work out, but I reckon it was adventure.
Yeah.
I just want to see, different countries, different world, and applied for visa, and actually they offered me permanent reason. I said, well, why not? And then moved to Australia in 1990. And
take us through that transition. Did you come here with anyone else? Did you know any connections in the country? Like, how did you find work? Take us through that relocation phase. Must have been a fair bit of change, I imagine.
No, I didn't have any contacts here. Didn't know any people. I got on Qantas. I think it was aboard the Jumbo 747, 7, and I landed from somewhere in Germany. I think it was Frankfurt Airport, and I landed in Melbourne, and I loved the country. From the first day, I loved Australia. I loved Melbourne, my first job in Australia was in the fitness industry.
All right.
This was 1990. Well, strength and conditioning didn't exist, and we didn't have professional sport in 1990. Even football,
part-time.
Yeah, part-time. I used to go to work and then train after work, nighttime. So strength and conditioning wasn't really paid job. But my first job was in the fitness industry, and I worked full-time in fitness center, and I did a lot of private coaching. Again, I worked with different young athletes, soccer, football, basketball. Did train a lot of basketball, some track and field. And I did this job for actually 6-7 years. And during this time, I did some work for the Australian Strength and Conditioning Association, just some coaching, got involved with them, and then I started to become more professional, and they start to employ more coaching, strength and conditioning coaches, and I decided to make move from the fitness industry and private coaching into more elite sport, and I sent my CV to every football club in Melbourne, only in Victoria.
Yeah. How did you go about getting those email addresses or postal addresses? Did you just?
That's a good question. I don't even remember, but I remember. I can't remember. I think I called and I asked for the emails. I think it was phone calls. I asked for the emails.
Yep.
And Bogdan Babichuk replied, Hawthorn Football Club, and asked me to go for an interview, and he interviewed me, and I don't know why he liked me, but he offered me a job.
Oh, there you go. The rest is history, eh?
Yeah, and so it started, and I worked with him 4 years at Hawthorn.
And what did your role look like at Hawthorn Football Club? What were your main responsibilities?
The gym, work in the gym, weights.
Yep, yeah. And was that for the whole squad or for the young players? Like,
yeah, the whole squad,
squad.
everyone. Yeah,
yeah.
Development, young, new draftees, and everyone, the whole squad.
Yeah. And was there someone in that role previously, or were you the first sort of strength coach under Bowden in that program?
When I went there, Bogdan was there, and high performance manager, but he was running the weights, and Adam Larkham was, I think he moved from Essendon, but from what I remember, Adam Larkham's role was more rehabilitation, but he still helped in the gym. And then after I worked with Adam Larkham for a year, and then he moved to Fremantle with Chris Conley. Chris Conley was assistant coach, and they moved to Freo, and he was for many years high performance manager at Freo.
And how did you find that transition for coaches listening in that are working in the fitness industry and have an interest for working in sport? Were there transferable skills that you found with even your role in handball with the women's team, and then private coaching in a fitness centre? Did you find that transferred into Hawthorn Football Club role, or was it completely different?
Well, every sport has its specificity, but I had pretty good idea, because before I applied for the job, I followed AFL. I mean, I started to follow AFL straight away. I followed AFL for years, and I worked with some VFL football players privately, and I had pretty good idea. But I used some of the, how to say, training methodology from handball. I applied in football. Handball is very athletic sport, and football is athletic, and there is some common things actually. Explosive power, contact, both sports are physical. Hawthorn Football Club, when I worked with them, we did lots of plyometrics. Bogdan understands plyometrics very, very well. Obviously, he's with triple jump background and decathlon, and we did a lot of jumps. That's what we do in handball. Yeah, I used some of my handball experience in AFL.
Yeah, and you mentioned you're there for 4 years.
4 years.
What was your next role after that 4-year campaign?
Well, after my 4th year, Hawthorn Football Club changed the coaching staff, and then I moved to Essendon. I moved to Essendon with John Quinn. I had another 4 awesome years. Worked with great people, John Quinn and Joe Hawkins. I think Joe was, John was on your podcast.
Yeah, John Quinn, Bowden 𝗶𝗏𝗏𝗏, and Joel Hocking have all been on.
Yeah, they've been on. Yeah, great people. And Adam Larkham is another really, really nice guy.
I'll have to reach out to him.
Oh, you haven't? Oh, yeah, he's a track and field coach. I think Australian national relay team, sprints coach. And physio. Worked with John and Joel for 4 years, and the same role, strength and conditioning coach. And
how did that come about? How did John Quinn know of or Joel Hocking? How did they know about your role did Bowden refer you on to Essendon Football Club, or did you reach out to John? Take us through that sort of connection.
No, it was through. Now, I worked with Joe. Was Bogdan's athlete. Bogdan used to coach him, Joe Hawkins,
Yeah.
and he worked, I think, for a year. We worked together at Hawthorn Football Club, and then he moved to Carlton, and from Carlton to Essendon. So I knew Joel from Hawthorn, knew him well, and Bogdan Babichuk introduced me to John Quinn, and I had an interview with John Quinn. I remember he asked me to teach Dustin Fletcher how to do power cleans, and he watched.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And
how did that go?
Yeah, good. Yeah, well, can't go wrong with Dustin. Coachable athlete, unbelievable athlete.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he helped me to get the job.
Yeah.
We got the
lucky John didn't choose the snatch. That probably would have been a little bit harder, I imagine.
He can handle snatch. Yeah, Fletch can handle snatch.
Oh, can he? Wow,
yeah,
that would be impressive.
He's an impressive athlete. And I worked with John 4 years. I was at Essendon Football Club 4 years. And then then from there.
Before you move to the next phase, you mentioned something there that is quite popular in the industry, and I think there's a famous quote out there. I can't remember who I heard it from, but you're not a strength and conditioning coach until you're fired by an elite club. You mentioned there was new coaches that came into the Hawthorn Football Club. Is that what changed the strength and conditioning staff? Was there a fair bit of change in the role, or did you want to leave Hawthorn at that time?
I was with Hawthorn. They
brought their own
came with
guys.
His staff. They changed the staff. Essendon. Now with Essendon, Melbourne Football Club approached me. I was in my second or third year with Essendon, and Melbourne Football Club approached me and asked me to go there, but I didn't. I told them that I'm prepared to talk to them, but when my contract finished, because I was still under contract, and then Kevin Sheedy and Matthew Knight replaced Kevin Sheedy, but I worked with Matthew Knight, so it wasn't a replacement. They didn't rotate the staff. I made decision to move to Melbourne because I had good offer. Chris Conley made good offer, and then John Quinn left Essendon, and myself and Joe Hawkins, we decided to move to Melbourne Football Club, and we moved together. I was strength and conditioning, and Joel took the role of high performance manager and did a great job.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And then what year was this at Melbourne Football Club? Were these full-time roles at this point of the industry?
Yeah, no, Joe was full-time, I was part-time.
Yep.
But yeah.
And then what did you do outside of those part-time jobs with AFL clubs? Were you working in the fitness centre or private work, or?
I did some private coaching, but I was part-time, but the money were enough to live. I was well paid.
Yeah. And of the three different roles, different clubs over a decade of experience, did you find that the game was changing in that period of time in terms of the athleticism and fitness?
Well, obviously, yeah, absolutely. The game was changing, became much more running, especially with the rotations, because when I worked with Hawthorn, well, then we start to introduce rotations, but then with Essendon Football Club, we were going through lots of rotations, which obviously changes the speed of the game and the preparation. Yeah, the game changed. become faster, and speed and elastic strength start to become more. I mean, strength is still important, but speed, elastic strength start to become even more important. We did a lot of plyometrics with Essendon Football Club and with Melbourne. Lots of contrast training.
And what would be your favorite sort of slow strength-based movements, and then your sort of fast explosive work when you do the contrast training?
Well, depends. When I do squats, for instance, I combine squats with tag jumps.
Yep.
Or jumps over hurdles. Power cleans with double leg bounding, like broad jumps, but connected continuous broad jumps, double leg bounding. We did lots of push press and medicine balls. These are simple. Some clean pulls with starts, 5, 10, 20 meter sprints. We did lots of them when I worked with Melbourne Football Club.
And they do that.
Park. There is
track. Got the space.
And the track there we did sprint or 𝗓𝗏, just a unloaded pushing 𝗓𝗏. Can't pronounce it. 𝗓𝗏 after clean pulls or deadlifts. Nothing complicated, simple exercises, but they're efficient. When you combine slow and heavy and slow with light and explosive, the results are good. Works for team sports.
Well. And for the athletes listening in, with the contrast training, do you want to explain how they actually would do that? So, and I guess the benefits of doing slow strength and then doing the explosive movements, but how would an athlete go about doing it? Is it, a minute in between drills? Do you want them going straight from the lift straight into the explosive movement? Is explosive movement first, or is it take them through maybe an example?
We've done both. We've done I use both methods. I do sometimes explosive first and then slow, but most of the time we do first slow and then explosive. Mix them. Obviously, if we do explosive before slow activates, they're great for activation. Activates the nervous system.
So they can lift a bit heavier, sort of thing.
Lift heavier. And slow start. One of the reasons I like heavy slow and then explosive is, and I know this from my experience in sport. Look, in team sports, most of the time we have to produce explosive movement under fatigue when we are fatigued. And lifting heavy, say for instance, when I do contrast training, I never go more than 5 reps. Usually somewhere between 3 and 5 reps. But even five full squats, it's a pretty serious effort and fatigues the muscles. And then we go straight away, say 5, we do straight away 5 tag jumps or 5 jumps over hurdles, high hurdles. So I like this fatiguing the muscle before explosive squats. Now, for example, this doesn't make sense makes less sense if you work with triple jumpers or long jumpers or high jumpers. But in team sports, most of the time we have to jump and sprint in the fatigue. How to say, it has higher correlation to team sports than track and field.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, awesome. There you go. Athletes listening in, it's a good way to, and it's also more time effective, isn't it? Like you're going to get you through your session.
Yeah. And still keeps the heart rate, actually. The heart rate's pretty high.
Yep. And you've mentioned a few that have influenced your career up until this point. So the coach yourself that allowed you to come in and train with the elite athletes, and obviously Bowden giving you that opportunity in Australia. Are there other people, and Chris Conley as well, getting you the great gig at Melbourne Footy Club? Are there other people that have been strong influences to your career? Did you have a mentor per se, or has a lot of your own development been self-driven?
Look, I mean, mentor, I'd say, I mean, always, I'd say, I talk a lot with my friends. I mean, with John Quinn, with Joe and Bogdan, and I have Nick Popovich, another great guy. I saw his interview on your podcast. He's another great guy, and worked together at NBL.
Mm-hmm.
Forgot South Dragons basketball team. Look, I mean, we learn all the time, and I reckon at my age, with my experience, it's how you learn more and how to say share knowledge and experience. We communicate, and look, every coach I work with has influenced me. It's impossible not to. And even young coaches, they still influence us. But mentor, I mean, if I have question, I ask Bogdan, I talk to John Quinn, I talk to anyone.
Yeah. That's a great mindset. Always learning. Love that.
Always learning.
Yeah. And for the developing footballers listening in, you've worked with a lot of successful and the top level footballers. What are some athletic traits that you like to see, or maybe some a mindset that you like to see when you're first working with an athlete, and you can see, they're going to be successful, they're going to be pretty good at what they do, at their craft?
I mean, young athletes, say, football players. I mean, I ask them a couple of questions, and one of the question I ask is, what do you want to do? And say, well, and the answer I get is usually, I want to get drafted. And I say, look, getting drafted is not enough. What do you want to do? Get drafted or make career? Because I've seen a lot of talented football players get drafted, and then they struggle for a year, maximum 2, and they disappear. What do you want to do? Get drafted or make career? And lately I've been getting actually more answer. I want to make career, which makes me happy. And if I hear this answer, I want to make career, then okay.
Let's go.
You're on the right track. You're prepared to work. It's not only for getting drafted, because you know it. I mean, we've seen lots of young athletes, and not only in football, in sports generally. They get drafted, they're not prepared. Well, I would say they're not prepared mentally for career. They prepare themselves mentally only for the draft. But then after the draft, it's more fingers crossed, and whatever happens, happens. But we know very well that in sport, things very rarely happens. We have to make them happen. I mean, we can't go in elite sport with finger crossed.
Yeah, I like that. And you're now working at your Bendigo Southeast College. Talk us through the program there. What's a typical day look like for you?
Great, mate. Great question. Now, first, I start to work with this Bendigo at Bendigo Southeast College 8 years ago, and we set up an athlete development program. And in the last 2 years, we expanded the program across 4 more schools. Now the program is in 5 schools, 4 secondary colleges from year 7, 8, 9, 10, and Bendigo Senior, year 11 and 12. So these 4 secondary colleges, they're feeding schools for Bendigo Senior. And we work, actually the program is part of the Bendigo Education Plan. Bendigo Education Plan is the local Department of Education. So they took over the program. It's a great program. It has been evolving well through the past 8 years. Now, the program has 3 components. First is general physical preparation. Second, skills. We offer skills in soccer, AFL, basketball, netball, cricket, and athletics. And if we have enough students, cycling, road and track.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And of course, we have students from different sports who are not, who do only strength and conditioning. They don't have squats. They don't do skills. So the first component is general physical preparation, skills, and we have theory. It's educational. It's not only sports program, it's educational program. So they do theory. They learn health, they learn nutrition, they learn anatomy, training methods, periodization. So it's
it's impressive.
Our athletes, they get pretty good understanding on sport. And some of our athletes, we have some really successful young athletes, but we have students, some kids, when they finish our program, they applied for sports degrees, and actually the program employs them now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Some of them completed their degrees, and we employ them.
And you're part of the initiative of it all, the very start of this program 8 years ago, were you?
Yeah.
Wow, that must be.
When we started, we didn't have we didn't have gym. We had empty room, which was big enough. We set up gym, and I've been working with some awesome coaches. We have great team, and the program is developing. The program is popular, and we're getting some good results. And Jack graduated from our program. And
was he? What was his answer when you asked him what did you want to do? Do you remember?
No, I didn't ask him.
No,
I didn't ask him. He was young. He was too young.
Yeah.
When he started, didn't ask him. But he was good. He was very, very talented. From his skills, and work hard. Got good results, good athletic preparation. It's going well. Yeah.
And for someone like Jack, what did his week look like at sort of, let's say, a 15, 16-year-old? How much training was he doing in the gym in terms of hours, or how many sessions, and how many football sessions? What was his normal week look like, do you think?
In the gym, 2 gym sessions.
Yep.
And 2 skill sessions in our program. So our student athletes do 2 gyms and 2 skill sessions, and they have theory. And plus, we try to monitor their training clothes outside the program with the club and the Pioneers and Bendigo Pioneers, which is probably the hardest, the most challenging part. We try to manage the training clothes, but yeah, he had four sessions in the program.
Right. Yeah. And then for those listening in that maybe haven't started their gym program yet because they haven't got access to it at school, or maybe they're not in the NAB league at this stage, but they want to be the best they can be. What would those 2 gym sessions look like? Is that total body sessions? Are they, you mentioned plyometrics, Olympic lifting, or is it more simple exercises? Take us through sort of a basic day of those 2 different workouts. Obviously they change, I know, but like just a general sense for the athletes listening in.
Well, let's start with year 7. When you get them, we start with mobility, flexibility, stability exercises, and then we start to learn how to squat, body weight squats, step ups, just bench press, push and pull exercises with light dumbbells on bench. And then from there we progress to deadlifts. We start to teach them how to do deadlifts, but very light weights. You have 8 and 10 kilograms bars. We introduce deadlifts. This in year 7. Running drills is another. So our program is structured, has 3 components. So warm up, and then we do mobility. Then after the mobility, we do running drills. At the start of every session, after we warm up and we do our mobility, we have 10-15 minutes running drills where we do just knee lifts, some low intensity plyometrics, low impact, A skips, bounding skips, bouncing skips, and we work on the running technique, and then we go through the weights. And of course, once you develop optimal mobility and flexibility and get some core stability and hip stability strength, we focus on technique. So they're not allowed to go, well, in fact, they're not allowed to change weight before they ask and before we check their technique. So the technique, we focus on technique. We make sure their technique is good. But year 7, we don't do any Olympic lifts. We introduce hang cleans halfway through year 8. So, and from there we progress to lift, power cleans from the floor, push press, and but we still keep the weight light until the end of year 10. We start to push heavier weights, year 11 and year 12, when they have 4 years solid preparation and the technique is pretty good. Actually, they don't have deficiencies, in serious deficiencies in the lifting technique. Then year 11, year 12, they start to lift. And again, it's individual. They start to move heavy weights.
Yeah, and now that you've had 8 years, so I imagine you've seen a few kids graduate from year 7 all the way through. What sort of achievements are you seeing in the gym? Are people deadlifting twice their body weight? Are they benching their body weight? Like, what sort of strengths are you seeing in the program for those students that have gone through the whole process?
Well, look, I mean, even when they finish year 12, they're still young. They don't need to lift deadlift their body weight twice. It's still, I'd say, put things this way: we focus more on velocity.
Yeah,
we lift heavy, but we don't do maximal strength.
Yeah.
So even if they squat 80 kilograms 5 reps, probably their maximal strength is on 5 reps is at least 10 or even 20 kilograms heavier. but I don't.
You don't take them there.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I don't.
yeah,
It's a school environment. It's a learning. It's an educational program, and technique is much more important. And learning how to train properly than lifting heavy. When they leave the program, then
plenty of time to lift
they
heavy.
they can lift heavy, but we don't test them. Actually, we don't do maximal strength. Put the thing this way. I don't want to. Yeah.
And then you talked about the mobility, flexibility. Over the last couple of years, particularly since COVID, I've noticed, from my point of view anyway, 13, 14-year-olds, unfortunately, due to a lot of sedentary behaviour with COVID and the pandemic, have tightened up a lot through hamstrings and back and hips. What are some of your favourite drills for those either parents that might be listening that have a younger child that have some mobility tightness, or maybe some athletes are listening in that want to increase their mobility through their hips and back, or ankles, whatever? What are your key focuses are with mobility for athletes?
Well, pretty much every joint. We work on ankle mobility, hip flexors, hip extensors, low back, shoulders. Obviously, for Olympic lifts, shoulders mobility is important. But look, mobility and flexibility is the hardest thing, and I negotiate, and I start to negotiate with them.
Yeah.
when they start at very early young age, I try to negotiate 10 minutes every day. Pretty much it's a constant battle, and it's the hardest thing actually to convince young athletes to do stretching. And some of them get it and do it, but most of them only promise. And but then when you don't see results, we ask questions and look, and they learn. Some kids takes longer to learn, but because we have them for a long period of time, and then we manage to get results. But it's the hardest thing to do. But just a simple. We don't really do anything extraordinary, anything specific. Just the ankles. We focus on ankles, hip.
And is it more like static stretching, like 30, 60 second, 90-second holds, or is it more dynamic, or is it a bit of both?
Yeah, we do both. We do both. With year 7 and 8, we do static stretching because they don't lift heavy. For instance, we structure the program this way. We start with mobility, dynamic, and then 10 minutes, and then we do 10 minutes static. Hip flexors, just hip flexor stretch, hamstring stretch, seated hamstring stretches, butterfly, adductors, some shoulders and ankle stretching, ankles. But we do both. We do dynamic and static. With year 9, 10, 11, 12, it's more dynamic.
And the moving on to the personal side of the podcast, the get to know Valeri side. So these ones are a bit lighter, not as serious. So have you got a favorite life motto or favorite quote, inspirational quote that you like to live by, Valeri, or you're not really a quote man?
No, I'm not. Sorry, I have to disappoint you with nothing. Nothing
right.
to share. I don't have motto and
And what about in your work life? What makes you angry? What are your pet peeves?
Ooh, good one. How to say? I'll say this: I don't get paid to get angry. I don't get angry. I negotiate. I mean, I don't
Nothing
get angry.
Yeah. What about when the kids
Boring.
don't put their weights away?
Yeah, they we make them put them at the start. Even if they don't put them, we just ask them and they put them back. We don't have problem.
Yeah. And then your favorite way to spend your day off?
When I don't work, train.
Yep.
Train and sleep.
Yeah. Still an athlete.
Still an athlete, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Training
great.
and recovery. Stress and
Yeah.
recovery.
I love it. What about favorite holiday destination and why?
Okay. Used to be ski resorts. I used to ski a lot, but I haven't done any skiing for the last 15 years. So I don't really, just here in Victoria, I guess, travel Mornington Peninsula, just locally. But I used to spend a lot of time and money on ski resorts.
Right, okay. And that's and are you a wakeboarder or are you a skier?
Ski.
Yeah.
Alpine.
Yeah. And where would be your favorite place to go is there anywhere in Australia that you've been? I know skiing in Australia is not that good, but
no, yeah, well, it's not, well, can't compare with Europe, but still good. Australia, I love the Mamboa for day trips because it's close. And when I go for a week, I prefer Falls Creek, Mount Hawthorn, but Falls Creek is my favorite ski resort here in Victoria.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Thank you so much for jumping on, Valeri, to the show and sharing with us your journey, both for the coaches listening in to, success leaves clues. So it's great to have someone that's been in the industry as long as you have and worked in international sports, women, men's professional sport, and 3 different teams as well, because we share a lot of AFL content on here. And then now working in the school sector as well, which is growing at a rapid rate in Australia, which is fantastic to see. It would be remiss of me not to ask about Dyson Daniels. How was it training him in preparation for the draft? It must have been a pretty special experience.
No, I didn't prepare him for the draft. He played in the United States. Dyson Daniels joined our program, I think it was year seven, and he trained 4 years, year 7, 8, 9, and 10. And when he graduated from the program, he moved to Canberra, Australian Institute of Sport. And from there, I think he was there for a year and then moved to United States and play NBA, last year, NBA G League.
Right.
But we had him in our program 4 years, and he was good. Yeah, he did everything what we've been talking about. Yeah, squats, deadlifts, power cleans, clean pulls, running drills in our program.
Fantastic.
But we play small part in his development.
Yeah, well, 4 years is a significant amount of time. Could you tell at the time that he was going to make it to the top?
Oh, he was always talented. Well, we expected actually. Our basketball coaches, they're very, very experienced, and they expected good results.
Yep.
I mean, number 8 is unbelievable.
Yeah.
But we expected career.
Yeah. Well done. That's it's amazing, and well done for your career so far as well. Obviously, a lot more to come, but thank you for coming on and sharing with us. What are you excited about at the moment? What's on the horizon for you, Valeri, for the rest of 2022?
Well, I'm excited. I'm hoping for good year. We need better year than the last 2 years, and so far it's been good year. No lockdowns. Kids still get sick, but we've been training more consistently, and I'm hoping for just a consistent year, good consistent training this year.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. It has been a bit tough on the kids and everyone in Melbourne the last 3 years, but fingers crossed it keeps going the way it has been. It's amazing how fast time flies when you don't have a lockdown. Hey, we're already well and truly halfway through the year.
Halfway,
yeah, it's crazy.
Semester 2.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, thanks again, and thank you for everyone that's tuned in to watch the show. Our next guest will be Matthew Pell, who's the Senior Applied Sports Scientist for Catapult. That will be at 9 p.m. next Wednesday, July 20th. Make sure if you tuned into Valeri's episode halfway through or maybe towards the end to listen to the very start. We're going to release it on our podcast next Tuesday. So stay tuned and I'll see you guys on the next episode. Thanks again, Valeri. For those that want to get in touch with you and even be coached by yourself, where's the best place to get in contact?
Can approach me on Messenger, I guess.
Yeah, Facebook Messenger.
Valeri Stoimenov.
Awesome. We'll add it in the show notes, guys, so you can get in contact. Thanks again, mate.
Thanks for having me.